Today's material is a passionate commentary piece exploring the recent $56 million settlement in the eBay corporate harassment scandal. So, a key theme running through this material seems to be the raw passion the author brings to exposing corporate intimidation, acknowledging this is a very strong, deeply personal piece of content. But to dive right in, streamlining the personal tangents will significantly amplify the core eBay harassment narrative.
Right. Yeah. Because when you look at the weakness of the current draft, the material frequently interrupts the factual timeline of the eBay case with unrelated commentary.
Exactly. Yeah. It just completely detours.
It really does. You're reading about this massive corporate scandal, and suddenly there's all this commentary on, like, Lucasfilm, Gina Carano, Supergirl, and, even personal disputes with an ex-partner.
Which, it really dilutes the shocking nature of the actual events, right?
Oh, completely. It disrupts the pacing entirely.
So the suggestion here is to group these industry comparisons and personal anecdotes into a dedicated analytical section, but only after the primary eBay timeline is fully established.
Yes, exactly. Because, for a concrete example of how to execute this, the writer needs to detail that complete summer 2018 harassment campaign first.
Just lay it all out there.
Right. Walk the audience through the bloody pig mask, the package of live fly larvae, the live spiders.
Which is just, that's insane.
It's totally insane. And then, the rented Dodge Caravan tailing them, the Craigslist swinger ads. You have to let all of that land.
You really do.
You have to let the horror of that sink in before shifting gears to discuss how this mirrors the creator's own experiences with the Masters of the Universe backlash or the Yellow Flash. And
I think we really have to talk about the cognitive load on the reader here, too.
Oh, for sure.
Because when you're presenting a case of this magnitude, where a Fortune 500 company is orchestrating a targeted campaign of terror against private citizens, the momentum of your narrative completely relies on mounting disbelief and outrage.
It does. The facts of the eBay case are so extreme, they almost sound like, a movie script.
They really do. So every time the timeline is interrupted to mention a completely separate controversy, like the critical reception of a Supergirl trailer.
Or some personal trademark dispute, yeah.
Exactly. The tension just breaks.
It snaps.
The audience is momentarily pulled out of the horrific reality of the Steiners' experience, and they're forced to recalibrate their attention to a totally different industry, different actors, different stakes.
Right.
But by isolating the eBay facts into a singular, uninterrupted narrative block, you allow the sheer weight of those executives' actions to fully land.
That's clearly laid out. I wonder, though, if we've considered the author's intent here.
What do you mean?
Well, for a commentary piece, especially one delivered to an established audience, those personal tangents are often exactly what builds rapport.
Sure, I can see that.
It's like how the creator connects a distant corporate news story to the immediate reality of their viewership,
I hear you, but I'm going to push back on that a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
Think of it like a prosecuting attorney during an opening statement about a crime scene.
Right, okay.
If they pause their description of the crime to talk about a completely different trial, it might be interesting, but it breaks the jury's focus.
Yeah, it distracts from the evidence right in front of them.
Exactly.
I totally get that analogy, and it actually clarifies things perfect because the feedback isn't to remove the personal stories, right?
Not at all.
It's just to logically sequence them, so the eBay facts act as an anchor for the author's later personal reflections.
Yes, it's all about the sequencing. And once that structure is organized, the credibility of those later industry comparisons really needs to be addressed.
Building on that point, what if we looked at it from the perspective of rhetorical authority?
Ooh, I like that.
Grounding the speculative claims about other media corporations with the hard evidence of the eBay case will make the broader argument much more persuasive.
Because right now the weakness is that the piece treats documented facts as equal to unproven theories.
Exactly. You have the documented facts like eBay's executives explicitly ordering this harassment being treated exactly the same as unproven theories about Lucasfilm using bots or, coordinated corporate smear campaigns against Supergirl critics.
Which is dangerous for the writer.
Extremely dangerous. It completely undermines the authority of the overall argument and, frankly, opens the author up to dismissive counterarguments.
So what's the suggestion here?
The suggestion is to frame the speculation about other studios as compelling questions supported by the eBay precedent rather than stating them as identical, proven facts.
Okay, give me a concrete example of that.
Sure. So instead of stating, I am 100% convinced
that there were some shenanigans perpetrated by Lucasfilm employees, phrase it as a question or an inquiry.
Like how?
Like, the eBay case proves Fortune 500 companies are willing to weaponize harassment and hire useful idiots. This forces us to look at the coordinated backlash around critics of Star Wars or Masters of the Universe through a completely new, skeptical lens.
Ah, that's so much stronger. But, is the connection between eBay's actions and Hollywood's actions fully established in the material? Or is that an area to potentially bolster?
That is definitely an area to bolster, because right now the connection isn't really there.
Right. It feels like a leap. It's like building a house.
A house?
Yeah, think about it. The eBay facts are this concrete foundation.
Right, solid, proven evidence.
Exactly. But if you built this massive, heavy, speculative roof on top of it claiming that all pushback against pop culture critics is a coordinated corporate smear campaign, well, if you don't install the connecting beams, the whole argument collapses.
That is a perfect way to put it.
You need those connecting beams.
You really do. And by using the eBay case as a precedent rather than a parallel, it makes the creator sound like an investigative authority.
Rather than just like a frustrated critic on the internet.
Exact. It's the difference between saying, I know they did this to me, and saying, we now have legal proof that corporations utilize these extreme tactics, which demands we investigate these other suspicious patterns.
It's so much more bulletproof.
It really is. It invites the listener to connect the dots themselves.
And that concept of authoritative framing, it directly ties into how the climax of the narrative is handled.
Oh, definitely.
Let's look closely at the section discussing the legal outcome and the $56 million settlement. Reorganizing the details of the Steiners' legal strategy will better highlight the brilliance of their fight against corporate intimidation.
Yeah, this part of the material felt a bit disjointed.
It did. The weakness here is that the most empowering part of the story is mentioned really late.
And it's kind of buried, right?
It is totally buried. The fact that the victims deliberately chose a civil suit over a federal one to avoid a gag order and to gain access to 68,000 internal documents, that is massive.
It's the whole point of the victory.
Right. But because it's mentioned so late and disjointedly, the climax of the narrative just loses its narrative punt.
So the suggestion is to restructure the ending to explicitly focus on the strategic decisions that led to that $56 million settlement.
Yes.
Frame it as a masterclass in fighting back.
And emphasize the lack of a confidentiality agreement.
Exactly.
For concrete examples, the author needs to build a climactic sequence highlighting at the $46 million to the Steiners, the $2 million from former CEO Devin Winnig, and the $6 million to charity.
Which is an incredible detail, by the way.
It's amazing. But you have to highlight that this wasn't just a payout. It was a strategic victory because they refused a settlement with an NDA as a deal breaker.
Right. They wouldn't take the money if it meant being silenced.
Precisely. The writer needs to emphasize that their desire to expose the culture is what forced eBay to publicly condemn executives like Steve Weimer and Wendy Jones.
That's fascinating. What are the potential limitations or counter-arguments to that idea?
Like, why wouldn't the author do that?
Yeah, I could see an argument where the author might have wanted to focus more on the visceral horror of the harassment itself, rather than the legal minutiae.
You mean not wanting to bog the story down in court talk?
Exactly. Sometimes if you get too deep into the weeds of civil versus federal discovery processes, it can dry out a highly emotional piece.
That's a valid concern. It can definitely read like a textbook if you aren't careful.
But having said that, for a listener persona that is deeply invested in corporate accountability, which is the target audience here, the mechanism of the victory is just as compelling as the scandal itself.
Oh, 100%.
Because the civil suit discovery process, that's what provided the satisfying resolution.
It's how they slayed the dragon.
Exactly. You have a story about a dark, terrifying corporate conspiracy, and the legal strategy is the triumphant resolution to that dark story.
It's the difference between victims and victors.
Yes. They didn't just survive. They outsmarted a billion-dollar entity by refusing to let those 68,000 documents get sealed in a federal case.
Which, just think about those documents.
Oh, I know.
Texts, emails, Slack messages. It's the smoking gun, and they dragged it out into the sunlight.
It transforms the narrative from a cautionary tale into an empowering playbook for the audience.
It absolutely does.
So, just to quickly recap the primary insights from today's critique.
Yeah, let's summarize it for the writer.
First, organize the narrative by finishing the eBay timeline completely before introducing personal anecdotes.
Right.
Second, leverage the eBay facts as a precedent to pose authoritative questions about other corporations rather than stating speculation as fact.
That builds the credibility.
Exact. And third, center the climax around the brilliance of the civil suit strategy and the refusal of the NDA.
Which is just such an incredible hook.
It really is. And, as a final thought, the core material here is just so strong already. The raw passion and the deep understanding of corporate overreach are phenomenal.
It's an incredible piece of work. We invite you to implement these actionable suggestions and submit your revised work back in for another critique.